cafeteria was buzzing with noise, the clatter of trays, laughter echoing from tables, and the usual groups gathered in their own little worlds. But then, something shifted. The noise dimmed ever so slightly as a new girl walked in, holding her lunch tray tightly with both hands, her shoulders hunched as if she wanted to disappear into the crowd. Her eyes moved quickly, searching for a safe place to sit, but every table seemed to be taken by groups who already belonged. Her clothes were plain, her shoes were worn, and her posture carried a nervous kind of energy that made it clear she wasn't used to this kind of attention. Her name was Aisha, and this was her first day in a new school. She had told herself it was just another building, just another set of walls, but deep down, she knew this was harder than she was pretending. She had already moved schools twice in the last 2 years, and the sting of always being the new girl never got easier. She wanted to eat quickly, avoid trouble, and escape unnoticed. But fate, and 3 boys sitting in the far corner, had other plans. Ethan leaned back in his chair, a smirk spreading across his face the moment he saw her. He was the kind of boy who thrived on making others uncomfortable, always searching for the weak link in the room. His 2 friends, Ryan and Cole, laughed at anything he said, not because he was funny, but because they were too scared not to. "Look at her," Ethan said loudly, his voice carrying across the cafeteria. "Fresh meat. Doesn't even know the rules." Ryan chuckled, elbowing Cole, and the 3 of them turned their attention toward Aisha like predators circling prey. Aisha spotted an empty table in the corner and rushed toward it, setting her tray down quietly, hoping no one would notice her. She lowered her gaze and whispered a quick prayer in her heart. "Please let me get through lunch without anyone bothering me." But sometimes life has a way of testing the very thing you fear most. Ethan stood up, his tray in one hand and his ego in the other, striding toward her with Ryan and Cole close behind. The cafeteria grew a little quieter, students sensing that something was about to happen. "Hey, new girl," Ethan called out, his voice dripping with mockery. "Didn't anyone tell you? That's our table." Aisha froze, her hands trembling slightly as she tried to gather her things. I didn't know. I'll move," she whispered, her voice barely audible. She bent down to grab her bag, but Ethan stepped in front of her, blocking her way. Ryan reached over and snatched her water bottle, tossing it across the cafeteria where it rolled under another table. Cole pushed her bag to the floor, spilling out her belongings: books, notebooks, a small sketch pad, and a framed picture of a woman. Laughter rippled through the cafeteria like a cruel wave. Ethan picked up the picture frame, examining it with a twisted grin. "What's this, Mommy?" he teased, holding it high above his head. "She looks kind of sad. Guess she figured out raising you wasn't worth it." "Huh." The laughter grew louder, crueler, until the walls of the cafeteria seemed to echo with it. Aisha's eyes widened and she reached for the frame desperately. "Give it back," she cried, her voice cracking with pain. But Ethan only lifted it higher out of her reach. "What's the matter?" he mocked. "Did she leave you? Is that why you're here all alone? Nobody wants you, do they?" The words cut sharper than any knife. Aisha froze, her lip trembling, her body shaking. Tears welled up in her eyes, and for the first time she looked completely broken. What Ethan didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the woman in the photo, her mother, was gone. She had passed away just last year, leaving Aisha with a hole in her heart that nothing could ever fill. And now, the one thing she carried to keep her mother close was being mocked in front of everyone. The cafeteria doors swung open suddenly, and the atmosphere shifted again. Liam walked in, carrying his tray. Everyone knew Liam. He wasn't loud, he wasn't cruel, and he wasn't the kind of guy who got into fights. But he was respected. Tall, broad-shouldered, and steady, he carried himself with quiet strength. He usually kept to himself, but when his eyes landed on Ethan holding that picture above Aisha's head, something inside him hardened. He set his tray down and walked straight toward them. "Put it down, Ethan," Liam said, his voice calm but commanding enough to silence half the room. Ethan turned, smirking. "Or what? You're gonna play hero for the new girl? She doesn't even matter." Liam didn't flinch. His eyes locked on Ethan's, steady and unyielding. "She matters more than you'll ever understand. Now give her the picture. Now." The cafeteria went silent. Even Ryan and Cole shifted uneasily, no longer laughing. Ethan tried to hold his ground, but his hand trembled slightly. He hated being challenged, especially by Liam. Before he could come up with another cruel line, Aisha's voice rang out. Her hands shook, Her voice trembled, but she spoke with raw honesty. "That's my mother. She died last year. You don't have the right to touch her picture or say her name." Her words cracked through the silence like thunder. Ethan's smirk faltered, his eyes darting around as he realized the laughter had stopped. Everyone was staring, but not at Aisha, not at the new girl. They were staring at him, waiting to see what he would do. Slowly his hand lowered, and he set the frame back on the table. Liam stepped closer, his voice steady and sharp as a blade. "You think it makes you strong to tear someone down. It doesn't. It just makes you small." His words hung in the air, heavy with truth. Ethan's face turned red, his pride collapsing under the weight of silence and stares. Without another word, he turned away, muttering something under his breath. Ryan and Cole followed, but they weren't laughing anymore. Aisha picked up the picture frame with shaking hands and clutched it against her chest. Liam sat across from her, not saying much, but his presence alone told her she wasn't alone anymore. One by one, other students began sitting at her table, kids who usually kept quiet, kids who had once been targets themselves. Something had shifted in the cafeteria that day. Kindness had silenced cruelty. Courage had broken the chain of laughter that fed bullies. In the days that followed, Aisha began to slowly open up. She showed her classmates the sketches she carried in her notebook, drawings that revealed a world of imagination and beauty. People were stunned by her talent. She told her story, not all at once but in pieces. She spoke of her mother, of the illness that had taken her too soon, of her father working long hours to keep them afloat, of the loneliness of starting over again and again. Her honesty opened hearts. The same students who had once laughed at her began to see her differently, to treat her with respect and kindness. Ethan and his friends faced their own battles after that day. Teachers disciplined them, but the real punishment was losing their power. The cafeteria no longer echoed with their laughter because people had stopped feeding it. Their cruelty no longer entertained anyone. Eventually, even Ethan changed. One afternoon, when no one else was watching, he approached Aisha quietly. "I'm sorry," he muttered, his voice low and uneasy. He didn't meet her eyes, but the words, though imperfect, were a step. Aisha didn't respond with anger. She simply nodded. She knew forgiveness was a journey, but even small steps mattered. The cafeteria incident became more than just a story of bullying. It became a reminder to everyone who had witnessed it that courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's as simple as telling someone to stop. Sometimes it's as quiet as sitting beside someone who feels invisible. And sometimes it's about choosing kindness when it's easier to stay silent. So if you're watching this right now, remember, if you see someone being hurt, mocked, or humiliated, don't stay silent. Don't let cruelty grow louder than kindness. You have the power to stand up, to change the story, to remind someone that they matter. Because the moment you choose kindness, you stop being just a bystander. You become someone's hero. If this story touched your heart, let me know in the comments. Share your experiences. Have you ever stood up for someone, or has someone stood up for you? Your words might inspire someone else who needs courage right now. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Be kind always, because together we can spread stories that remind the world of the power of compassion.